What's up? What's up? Welcome, welcome. We're going to be on Proverbs, chapter 14, Bible study. So hang out for a few minutes and we'll be getting started. Book of Proverbs Bible study. Really good. It's been really good going through the book of Proverbs. So excited about this one, as I am about all of them. I'm always excited to do these Bible studies. I learned so much from doing them. Um, Almost ironic how much I learned from teaching. So Book of Proverbs, and before we dive into the Proverbs 14, we could take a few minutes to, while people are jumping on, we'll take a few minutes to reflect on what we learned from chapter 13 of the Proverbs. So keep in mind that some of you guys are watching me on TikTok and some of you guys are watching me on YouTube. So you're getting different vantage points. So if it looked like I'm not looking at the camera, it's probably because I'm not looking at your particular camera, but I am talking to everybody, right? So we're going to be doing the book of Proverbs, chapter 14 Bible study. Yesterday we did chapter 13, and chapter 13 was really good. So I'm gonna point out some of the key uh verses, I guess, from chapter 13 that stuck out to me before I jump into chapter 14. So, right off the bat, chapter 13 just started with some heat. It says that wise son hears a father's instructions, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. And that was just such a powerful way to start off chapter 13. And the crazy thing is that Proverbs chapter 14 starts off with pretty much the same type of message. Is just instead of talking about the wise son, it's talking about a wise woman. So I thought that was really cool. But instruction, discipline, correction, like we have to ask ourselves, are we the type of people that accept discipline, and when we get corrected on something, do we use that to make ourselves stronger, or to drive us forward in our endeavors? So really good thing to think about, because we think about discipline from a human perspective, and most of us, if we're being honest with ourselves, we don't like being disciplined. But when we're talking about from a spiritual level, we're talking about godly discipline. When God sees us going down a wrong path, He's trying to get us back on the path of righteousness. Sometimes He has to discipline us, and sometimes that discipline comes in ways that we're not happy about. And but does it serve the purpose of getting us back on the righteous path? And when we get disciplined, are we, being open to it? Another one was verse 3. So Proverbs 13, verse 3 was a really good one from yesterday. It says, whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips come to ruin. This is pretty much saying, you don't always have to speak on stuff, right? If we learn how to be quiet more, if we learn how to reserve our words more, we sometimes will find ourselves in a lot less crazy situations. Sometimes our mouths can get us in trouble. We've seen this on social media where people, fingers have gotten them in trouble, because they feel the need to say and voice their opinion on everything. You're entitled to your opinion, so you say what you want to say. But as followers of Christ, there comes a time when some stuff we don't got to speak on. Some stuff we don't have to argue with people on. So when we guard our mouths, we preserve our life. This is a very true statement, because sometimes just not saying something will keep us from um, getting into an altercation with somebody. People get into fights, people have gotten murdered over the words that have come out of their mouth. So Proverbs chapter 13 verse 3, that's a really good one. Uh they were all good, but these are just the ones that kind of stuck out to me, as like, hold these close to you, and my favorite proverb of probably all is Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, but a sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. Y'all, this one right here speaks volume. Like, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. Children. If we're talking about um, we could talk about several different types of inheritance. We could talk about a financial inheritance, right? You want to leave a financial inheritance for your children. We are not to lay up treasures on this earth for ourselves, but the Bible tells us clearly that we can lay them up for our children's children, right? So this is to me one means lets us know that God does not hate on us being wealthy, right? A lot of people have this misconception that, if you get too much wealth, you can't be close to God. That is not true, right? You can't leave an inheritance, financial inheritance for your children's children if you don't have any financial inheritance to leave, right? This could be spiritual inheritance, right? We want to make sure that we are reading our Bibles, we're teaching our children how to do those things. There's several times in the Bible where we see someone was taught how to read the Bible, and that resource came back to help them in the long run. When Hagar was out in the wilderness with her son and he was crying and said that the boy remembered how to pray because he was taught how to pray. We want to make sure that we're leaving a spiritual inheritance for our kids. I talked yesterday, I'm gonna talk probably every day about the need for everybody to write a book, because you want to make sure that you're leaving lessons and wisdom and knowledge behind for your children and your children. Like, they shouldn't have to go through the same struggles that we are going through if they are wise and able to pick up the book that we leave for them, the instruction manual, that's built on the Bible. Like, I'm working on mine, that I want to leave behind, right? And this is to serve as a how-to guide for this life. Not a how to guide, because I think the Bible is already the number one how-to guide, but it just serves as an additional manual, if you will. But you know, inheritance for our children. We want to make sure we're leaving a wealth inheritance, a spiritual inheritance, and that we're also leaving knowledge and wisdom, because knowledge and wisdom, in my opinion, is the best inheritance that you can leave to your children. You can leave a person with a whole bunch of money, you give kids $1 million when you pass away, but if they have no financial responsibility, if they have no financial knowledge, if they have no knowledge in general, no wisdom, they're gonna blow that money, and they're gonna sometimes be worse off than what they would have been if you had to let them figure it out on their own, right? So we wanna make sure that we're not just focusing on the financial, but we're focusing on the wisdom and the knowledge, because once we give them wisdom and knowledge, they can go out and they can create their own finances, right? So that was a recap of chapter 13. So we're gonna get ready to move into chapter 14. Most of the people that I was waiting on have jumped on. So yeah, we're gonna start moving in, and we're gonna continue to contrast the difference between wisdom and foolishness. Okay, the Proverbs talks a lot about the difference between wisdom and foolishness, and one of the things that I've grown to understand in these last 14 chapters is that we're either doing one or the other, right? God shows us a lot of compare and contrasts in the Bible. You're either being wise or you're indulging in folly. So we want to make sure that we are being wise people and that we are focused all the time rather than just some of the time. It's great for us to only practice wisdom whenever we find ourselves in a situation. Now we want to use wisdom and knowledge to get us out of that situation. But sometimes the best of our wisdom and knowledge of our resources is literally to keep us from falling um, into an issue in the first place. So yeah, we're gonna move on and let's get started. So for those of you who are gonna follow along with me, this is Proverbs chapter 14. I'm gonna go verse by verse. So you're welcome to follow along in the Bible want to, but you don't have to. I'm gonna read them out loud anyway. I am reading from the ESV translation. I do believe that translations matter. I read in multiple translations because I like to understand the words that are being used. And we know that sometimes words can have more than one meaning. So, but this is primarily going to come from the ESV, unless I pull out my paper Bible, which I did not bring downstairs, so I will not be pulling out my paper Bible. So yes, we are going to be going only from the ESV. So, all right, verse 1 says, "The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down." Right? The wisest of women build builds her house, but folly with her own hands tear it down. So, like I said, this is a very good contrast because in chapter 13, the first thing that we hear is that a wise son follows the instructions of his father, and um, I thought it was really cool that it kind of like did that, male in the first one, and with a verse that women in the first verse of 14. But wise, we already, wise means wisdom, skillful wisdom, like the use of that wisdom. Like, do you have practical insight? It says that the wisest of women. Now, the wisest of women is to say that she's already around a bunch of wise women, but this is the wisest of women that builds her house. But folly with her own hands tears it down. When we're being wise, using wisdom, we can build great things, right? But when we folly tears it down. It's crazy because you can build a business, get that business up and running and profitable, right? And then after it's profitable, you can do nothing to that business, and the folly of doing nothing to the business will literally make the business fail, right? Sometimes you can sell a business quicker than you can start a business. It could take you 5 years to start a business, and 6 months of folly can ruin that business like that, right? Anything that we aren't intentional about normally withers away and die. Just like gardens, just like plants, right? If I can get my plant all healthy and giving off good fruit, and then I stop feeding it, stop tending to it, stop watering it, stop pruning it, and it'll start to die. So that's what I'm getting when I read this, and I really kind of get two different ideas from this, right? The wisest of women builds her house. Wise women build their house. Wise men build their house. Your house, for me, when I hear this is my house. Like I'm building my house. I'm building my kingdom. My immediate circle of people. My sphere of influence says, but folly, which that's compare and contrast, right? The wise person is gonna build their house. The person who enjoys folly, they're gonna tear it down. But then this also could mean that a wise person built the house, but then turned to folly, and in that folly, it was torn down, right? It tears down. So we have to think about that. When we're building up our legacy, when we're building up our family, like, am I when I'm building something, I don't wanna allow folly to creep in and tear it down. I have these moments sometimes where, I won't watch TV for, like, months sometimes, like, I haven't watched any TV shows or any of that, and then all of a sudden, for, like, a couple of weeks, I'll get into this whole binge feeling where I just start binge watching TV shows, right? And it's like, so I'll go from good habits. I'm running, I'm eating good, I'm, uh, getting into my word and all this other stuff, and then in a moment of folly, I'll tear it all down, right? Instead of running, I watch 2 episodes of a TV show. Instead of working out, I watch 2 episodes of a TV show. Instead of working on my business, I watched another episode of a TV show, and enough folly will literally tear down anything that you built up, right? You take a day off, take a week off from the gym, it's harder to go back to the gym somehow. It's not that I don't even have to eat bad. Like, I literally just take a week off from the gym, and for some reason, the folly of not going to the gym makes it harder for me to go back to the gym. It's harder to get back to the routine sometimes. And I think that's how it is in all aspects of life. So, later on, we'll get to Proverbs chapter 24, verse 3 and 4 says, "By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established," right? So, when the wise woman is building her house, and by understanding it is established, that is, the use of that wisdom, the use of that knowledge, right? With all our seeking of knowledge, we are to seek understanding. Why do I do the things to do I do? Why should I do the things that I do, right? Why do I have to make sure that I leave an inheritance for my children's children so they don't have to go through the same things that we have to go through? You know, like that's the understanding. When you have understanding, it makes it easier sometimes to do a thing, right? I can do something that's more challenging when I understand why I'm doing it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. When Jesus gives the parable of the wise and foolish builder. That's kind of the same thing. Whatever we're building it on a firm foundation, and that we're still being diligent. Verse 2 says, "Whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his way despises. We already understood this. Whoever walks in uprightness, whoever is honorable, whoever walks straightly, they're more using their moral judgment when they're going out and interacting with the world. And the ideal walk, whoever walks, that's continuous, right? You're continuously walking. Like we said, this life is like a marathon. It's a never-ending marathon until the marathon ends, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but you can walk it, run it, whatever it is, it's at your pace. God sets that up. But you know, it says whoever is walking in uprightness, fears the Lord. That's true. In uprightness. This is not saying that every good person fears the Lord. Whoever walks in uprightness, and that uprightness means you're just in you're just by God's standards. You're just in God, or you're straight in God. Not I'm just good. You know what I mean? Uh, so I just to point that out. But devious, that's twisted, perverse, like cricket. Like we talked about the person who has a wicked heart that devises evil plans. They're scheming against people, right? Um, God calls us to love people, you know, um, and not to open a can of worms that leads to debate because there are times when God does hate certain people. You know what I mean? So, but we are called to love people. So it's hard for me to do evil to people and claim that I love God, right? But it's just it's impractical realistically. Although some people do it. Verse 3, by the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. From the mouth of a fool comes a rod to his back. When we pop off at the mouth, sometimes it comes back to us, right? Again, this is another one of the ones just it's just telling us like we don't need to open our mouth for everything. We don't need to speak on everything. Like people will get into the comments here on this live right now and start asking me questions about stuff that I'm not gonna get into that conversation with them, right? And I just don't have to speak on it, right? I don't have to allow people to provoke me to anger because I don't even have to speak on it. So, but a foolish person feels the need to speak on everything, right? A foolish person feels the need to confront everything. Like some stuff, even when I've been wrong sometimes, there's not even a need for confrontation because I don't ever plan on seeing that person again, right? I don't have to go and fight with somebody over something I don't have to interact with them ever again. Like, why would I do that? But a foolish person does that, right? And we've seen this over and over again where people are reckless with their mouths, and then catastrophe comes after them, right? You don't always know who you're dealing with. You don't know what spirit is on somebody. You go popping off at the mouth to the wrong person, and they are in a you know homicidal or suicidal mood for that day, and you just have to put yourself in the crosshairs. Walk away sometimes. Be quiet. That's what this is saying. By the mouth of a fool comes the rod to his back. You talk too much. At some point, reproof is gonna come, whether you want it or not. A rod to the back is forceful, right? Rod to the back is that's extreme discipline. But the lips of the wise preserves him. Keeps you out of trouble. Verse 4 says, "Where there is no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox." Look, an oxen, that's the work animal. They use ox to plow the fields, to move goods in and out of town. This is saying where there are no oxen, the manger is gonna be clean. You come upon a clean manger, and one would think that this is a good thing, right? Where there are no oxen, the manger's clean. That's great. There's no poop in there, no bugs in there, any of that, right? What this is saying is that if there's no oxen manger, there's no work being done. So there's no harvest to collect later on, right? But the abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. You have to have the ox. You gotta have the work. The ox symbolizes work, right? Where there is no work, there is no mess. Where there's work going on, there's gonna be a mess, right? Don't don't run away from from the mess. Don't run away from the work because we don't want mess. But then at the same time, don't avoid the mess because the mess comes with the work, right? So I love to have a clean manger, but I love to have a harvest that I can collect when it's time to harvest rather than having a clean manger to show off and say that it's clean. So hard work is messy. That's what I take from this verse. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11, it said, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, right? Whoever is working his land has oxen, right? And the oxen are working. The land is not clean in that scenario. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 says, whatever you do heartedly as for the Lord, right? Ecclesiastes also said, with anything that our hands find to do, that we should do it all right, right? This is saying as if you're doing it for the Lord. Let me ask you this. When is the last time that you did a task and you did it as if you were doing it for the Lord, right? Um, what if your paycheck at the end of the week or the end of the month said the Lord on the bottom of it? Like, how would your work ethic improve? Would your work ethic improve, right? This is a very curious topic to talk about because it's like, am I doing everything that I do as if I'm doing it for the Lord? Am I living as if I'm living for the Lord? Do I parent as if I'm parenting for the Lord? Do I um do I go grocery shopping as if I'm grocery shopping for the Lord? You know, that's a good question to start asking. Like, am I doing this as if I'm doing it for the Lord? You can put that in any scenario and almost make your output better if you aim to do it as if you're doing it for the Lord. That's such a crazy way to that's an ingenious way, I guess, to kind of boost your productivity, right? Am I doing this as if I'm doing it for the Lord? The next time you got a kid that loves Christ, ask them if they're doing their schoolwork as if they're doing it for the Lord. Because the Lord might want to use them hands later on to perform some new cutting edge surgery when you become an adult. But he's requiring you to put forth that effort now, you know. Uh, so yeah, verse 5. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. This is crazy, right? So faithful, steadfast, trustworthy, right? A trustworthy witness does not lie. They won't give any deceit. They won't bear false witness. Talk about false witness, which is something that the Lord hates, right? It says that God hates a lying lip, lying tongue. So a faithful witness does not lie. But when it says a false witness, this is a deceitful person, right? An untrue person, a person who's seeking to mislead someone. They breathe out lies, and the ideal of breathing out, like, it's just so natural, right? You ever met somebody who just lies come out of their mouth naturally? "Hey, you put them dishes away." "Oh, yeah, 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 I sure did, I sure did." Like, "Well, did you? I see them, and they still in there, I see them." Like, uh, I know what I'm saying is that we've all been that person sometimes. Like, maybe not everybody, I can't say that. Like, many of us have been this kid, right? Many of us been that kid that just was breathing out lies. Um, some people are those adults still just breathing out lies. I don't wanna be the person that's breathing out lies. I don't wanna be, 'cause that's a liar, you know what I mean? Like, the only person that breathes out lies is a liar. I don't wanna be a liar, that's a profession. You have a profession of lying, and, most liars are not even good at the profession, so, and the problem with a lie is that you gotta keep living a lie. Once you tell a lie, you have to live that lie, and it becomes confusing. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever, participated in a lie or told a lie that they had to continue to live, but, it sucks having to live in a lie because you gotta remember circumstance. You gotta pieces of a story that you made up that wasn't even true. You know what I'm saying? Like the names and stuff and changed to protect the innocent, but you get yourself in trouble that way. So a faithful witness, that's who we want to be. I don't want to be a false witness, that's naturally lying. It's part of their character. Like that's a character trait of theirs is lying. Oh, so and so always lying. You know who I'm talking about. We all know at least one person. Verse 6, a scoffer seeks wisdom in vain. Ooh, but knowledge is easy for a man of understanding. Scoffer seeks wisdom in vain. Man, okay, okay, okay. Uh, a scoffer, we talked about the scoffer over and over again. That's the mocker, the person who really who does not accept truth. The mocker doesn't accept uh, wisdom. The mocker, the scoffer or the mocker is the person who will make fun of you for trying to do better and trying to make corrections to yourself. Right? That's who a scoffer is. And this is saying that a scoffer seeks wisdom in vain. You ever had somebody come and ask you for advice about something, but the whole time they were on using it, they just wanted to come and see and either see what you had to say or see if they can argue with your advice. You ever had that happen? Again, if you have kids that had this happen. I was this kid too, where especially when you get caught in a situation, right? That is such a kid thing, and it has not changed. I'm gonna tell you that at 39 years old now, with teenagers, I've learned that it's the same tactic I used to use, right? I get caught up in a lie and um, turn into the scoffer that's pretending to ask wisdom. The teacher catch you doing something you're not supposed to be doing. All of a sudden, I got a question about number three on the test. Really, I don't. The scoffer who seeks wisdom in vain. They're not even planning to use the wisdom that they're seeking. It says, "But knowledge is easy for the man of understanding, because the man of understanding is always looking for knowledge." The reason why it's easy is because things just become known to you when you start seeking understanding. Like your mind just open up to things. Like you start looking around you and you just start understanding stuff. You just looking at like I'll sit around in buildings sometimes and I'm looking at the cables in the pipe, wondering where the cables in the pipe go. And I can look around in a building long enough, just sitting in the lobby to find out where the electrical room is. I'm pretty sure the electrical room's that way. Once I get an understanding of what things are going. But when we're seeking knowledge, we're able to use it and we're able to identify things. The scoffer, you can tell them something. You can say, the scoffer can come to you, ask you a question about something. You can give them an answer to that thing, and then they can still go right down the street and make the same mistake you just talked to them about because they never actually intended to use the knowledge that they inquired about, right? So this is almost worse than a person who rejects knowledge. Like well, no, I don't know. I don't know if it's worse than the person who rejects knowledge or not. Is worse than the person who is not intentionally looking for knowledge because they're just not looking for it, right? The person who rejects knowledge may be worse because they're choosing to remain in ignorance. And again, we got a lot of people out there who are choosing to remain ignorant about a lot of things. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 says, "Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction." Right? The scoffer is gonna despise wisdom and instruction. They don't wanna be corrected. Uh, they just wanna do them. They wanna live their life, reap the rewards of not sowing, which is nothing. Verse 7, "Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of wisdom." Man, paint this one on your door frame and put it on your ball cap and put it on your shirts and all of that. Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge. If you hang around with fools, you're gonna get foolish results. You're gonna get foolish knowledge. You're gonna get foolish information, right? Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge. Y'all, verse 7 of Proverbs chapter 14. Send that one out in the morning as your memory verse. You can share it with your friends and your emails. Um, we talked yesterday about how sometimes we got to change our environment. Sometimes we got to change our situation. Sometimes we got to limit the access that we give people who are not living in accordance with the level of righteousness that we're working on for the time being, right? If you're on a path to righteousness, you're on a path of righteousness. Your aim is towards God. You can't be on a path of non-righteousness at the same time. It doesn't exist. You're either going towards righteousness or you're going away from righteousness, right? Um, and I wholeheartedly believe that. But sometimes we find ourselves not only around foolish people, but we find ourselves seeking knowledge and wisdom from foolish people. And a foolish person is going to give you foolish advice, right? When I was a foolish person, I gave foolish advice. When I was a young fool, I gave some stupid advice to friends about relationships, right? Uh, Now as an older, more seasoned, more wise person, I can give some more sound advice, you know? Um, Tell my friend now that they need to check themselves rather than just agreeing with them and telling them that they girl tripping. You know what I mean? Like, I'm wiser now. I'm not the same fool. But sometimes we choose to be in the presence of fools pretending like we're trying to get somewhere that we're not, and that's not healthy for us, right? If like I talked about yesterday, if you're the type of person who you know that the Lord is calling you to cut off a certain activity, you can't hang around with people who are indulging in that activity and finding it to be enjoyable, right? Because we like to all think that we're strong and I can be around it without being a part of it. Bruh, that only works for so long, right? There's only so many, "Oh, I forgot you're not drinking no more," before you say, "You know what, just one for her." There's only so many, "Oh, my bad, I forgot you're not," before you just like, "You know what, one ain't." There's only so many of those, you know, you hang so when it says leave the presence of a fool, this is really saying leave the presence of anybody who is not behaving or intentional about getting their life right with Christ when you are. When you're intentional about getting your life right with Christ, you need to surround yourself with other people who are actively seeking to get their life right with Christ. You know, there are people who you're gonna look at and you're gonna say they already got their life right with Christ. That might be true, you know, but they're still working on it. This is a lifetime effort for us to continue to get closer and closer and more righteous, right? But we can't do that if we're hanging around with people who are still indulging in the things that we know we need to cut off. We all have those indulgences, right? We all have something. Trust me, I was a young, wild Marine, and I have indulged in a lot of things in my lifetime, and now I can't. Now I have no desire to be in those types of surroundings. So there are just certain people in my past that they're no longer a core part of my life. You know what I mean? Um, there are some people I just had to like limit. You know, verse 8: the wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. The wisdom of the prudent, the wisdom of the sensible person, right? This is the thoughtful person is to discern his way. We get wisdom when we are being sensible. That wisdom should lead, right? It should highly influence the things that we do when we don't do it. It should highly influence the things that we participate in and that we don't participate in. When we are being prudent, when we're being sensible. But the folly of a fool is deceiving. A fool will be doing things thinking that they're getting somewhere and they're not getting anywhere. I'm gonna tell y'all where a good example of this comes, right? Currently, in this climate of social media influencers, you will see people who are out here doing stupid things to get engagement on their social media, right? And they think they're getting something. You got this big following, but it's not even producing anything in your life. It's not producing anything in the lives of the people you have direct influence, right? So there are a lot of people out there who are getting, you know, hundreds of thousands of views and likes on videos, and maybe they're getting a little bit of ad revenue from, you know, the algorithm, whatever platform they're on, but it's deceiving. They're not making a lifestyle out of it. You're not like if the way that you're making money is by you being a fool and having to do all of these dangerous stuff that I see people doing, like, to me, it doesn't even make sense, right? But a wise person could use that same platform to discern their way, to make to actually do something that is tangible, that will live longer with a purpose. So that's just one of the examples that I can think of from, like, current day. Like, we see this currently where our kids now wanna be influencers, right? Kids now wanna be influencers because you look at the influence and it appears the deception, they appear to be having such a great time. They appear doing something they love. They appear to be making money while having fun. But then when you peel the layers of the onion back, when you get that behind the scenes, when you see that one clip and they're talking about, man, I really was struggling. I was in a dark place. I was, people were laughing at me and not with me because really I wasn't laughing. Like you hear that a lot of times from people. So we have to make sure that we aren't enjoying folly and making that folly deceive us into we're setting up something that we're not, right? Like I said, with Jesus, with that parable of the parable of the builder, right? The builder who built his house on the sand. 'Cause look like let's imagine that the builder was building their houses right next to each other, right? One is building on sand, one is building on solid ground. The one who's building on the sand could look at the one who's building on solid ground and be like, and not even that, right? Let's back of them took longer than the other. The one who's building on the sand, we can say that that's the person who's enjoying folly because you can look at the other person and say, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing that way. It's gonna take you forever. I'll be done by the time you get done." You laugh at them because they're working harder, right? But your house blows away as soon as the storm comes. So you done did all this work, wasting in your folly to only find out that it was deceiving. That's what this is saying. Like, we don't want to do things out of a foolish nature, thinking we're moving, but really we're not doing anything. Just spinning our wheels in place, right? Spin your wheels in place too long, you gotta replace the tire. Like you pop the tire. That was a bad analogy, but verse 9. Fools fools mock at the guilt offering, but the upright enjoy acceptance. Now the guilt offering, this was a sacrifice for sins in the Old Testament. So they would go to the priest, and the priest would make a guilt offering on behalf of the people to atone for their sin in the Old Testament. We no longer do a guilt offering in this same sense, but we still make offerings and sacrifices to look like we are a living sacrifice. Um, and we can dig into that more if anybody has questions about that, but I'm not going to dig into that. But what this says is that the full mock at the gift offering, upright enjoys acceptance. Like we want our offering to be accepted, right? When you make an offering to the Lord, when you are doing something, saying, "Hey, I'm doing this for the Lord," you want the Lord to accept it. You want to be finished. A fool doesn't care. A fool is just, I'm here, I'm doing something just to get the views or get the likes. Like they don't care. We don't want to be we see this a lot too in modern times where people will be out and they'll say they're doing something for the Lord. The Lord put on my heart to do this, but they recording it the whole time so they can get views. And not saying that you can't document certain things, but like it's become such a distasteful trend that we would pretend like we're doing something with an upright heart, but really we have ulterior motives. We're offering our services, our talent resources up to the Lord, we can't do it with ulterior motives. Because once we get rewarded on the earth, we got our reward, right? So anything that I do and I say I'm doing it for the Lord, if I actually was looking to get rewarded from people of the world, I already got my reward. It's not for the Lord at that point. I got if you will. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 22 says, "How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing? How long will the mockers delight in their mocking? How long will the lazy delight in their laziness?" You know, I can be lazy for a certain period of time. I can, good I can take a good week when I'm in vacation mode and be lazy and do nothing. You know what I mean? But like we said earlier, when you're lazy for too long, stuff starts to break down. You know, even muscle. You can't even lay on the couch for too long, your muscles get weak, right? So how long will we delight in our scoffing? How long will not we, how long will scoffers? Scoffers, that's a choice, right? That's a person who's comfortable in their mocking and in their laziness. Like we don't want to be them in the first place. But how long will those who are scoffers fight in their scoffing? Oh, cool, cool. I think that's Santi. Thank you for the comment. Uh, Verse 10 says, "The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy." The Your inner person, the inner you, your emotions, right? Your will, the desire that you have, right? Knows his own bitterness, deep sorrow. Don't we? Ain't that the truth? Like whatever it is that you have a deep sorrow for, you feel it in your gut. You know what I mean? Like you ever see something that like brings sorrow to you? It just kind of it makes you weep a little bit. Like that's what that is. Like the heart knows your its own bitterness. Like each person carries their own joy and pain, right? I can't carry your joy. I can't carry your pain. It's always funny how we seek to have someone else make us happy. No one else can truly make you happy because we are responsible for that. I'm responsible. My heart knows my own bitterness. I can put on this face like I'm happy out in public, but my heart inside, my inner man knows that I'm still bitter and sad, right? Um, we can't, but healing comes from the Lord, though. You know, we feel this way when we it says no stranger shares his joy, right? Like I said, we can go out here and put a mask on and pretend to be okay out in the world, but deep down inside, I'm still feeling bitterness and anxiety. And this is saying that a stranger can't even share in this joy. Like they can't share in the joy that you're pretending to have because it's not even real joy. So they so here it is, like, it's funny because when you're not feeling like being somewhere and you're around people and people are trying to fill you up, you don't even remember events that happened during that time frame because you're so in your mind about the thing that you got going on. You could be at a party pretending to be happy, right? Secretly, you're not happy or you're not experiencing joy because I don't think that joy and happiness are not you're at a party pretending to have some joy, but really you secretly don't have any joy. Whatever's going on at that party, you're not even a part of it, right? You go home and the next day people are telling you about things that happened. And you don't even remember because you were so in your thoughts about things that right? Can't even share in the fake joy that you got going on because it's not even real joy. But the thing is that we have to find our joy in the Lord, right? We have to find joy. We can find joy even when we're not happy. I can be joyful and unhappy at the same time, right? Because happiness is situation. Happiness is emotion, right? I can be I can wake up in the morning in a great mood, get to my car, the bird on me now, I'm I'm not happy. I can make it to work, find out I got a raise, now I'm happy again, and then I can get back to the office and find out or I you know what I'm saying? Like happiness is so situational. Like you can have happiness this minute and then literally the next minute something happened that kills your happiness. You can still have joy regardless. I never thought I could have joy getting fired. I never thought I and then when it did happen and I started hearing other people talking about the joy they experienced when they got fired, I was like, man, I had joy that I got fired. I was not happy. I was upset. Oh, I was mad. I was livid. I was on the phone with Bunny. I'm complaining. Can't believe they fired me while I was on the road. Now I gotta get back home from Virginia, you know, uh, and they want me to drive the work truck back, like, "You fired me, like, I'm not driving nothing," like I had this whole thing, but like deep down, I had joy. I was kind of relieved not have to be on the road no more. I was like, man, I get to go home. I ain't happy, still got bills to pay. I had some joy, right? We got to be people that can seek joy because when we have real joy, we can be around those people and still enjoy joy because my happiness is not based on situational things that are going on around me. They play a part in my happiness, but not in my joy. Verse 11, the house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Right? We talked about this over and over again. The house of the wicked, like the legacy of the wicked, will be destroyed. We see this happening currently in the news. There are people who have these legacies that we thought they were going to leave behind to their children that are now being dismantled and torn down because of wicked ways. And in some cases it's sad, but again, the Bible already tells us this. Like, don't want to be out here living wicked whether it's in the open or out in private because those things don't stand. You know what I mean? But the upright will flourish. Like when you're upright and you don't have anything to hide, there's nothing. Nobody can come against what you built. Uh, Verse 12. There is a way that seems right to a man, but it ends. But its end is the way to death. I thought this one was really, really interesting. Right? There is a way that seems right to a man, a way, a direction, a lifestyle that seems right, appears to be correct, right? It is logic to the human eye, right? To my human mind, I may have even justified this path because it seems to a man, but it says its end is death. Like this is in the Marine Corps, we do land nav. So, Paris Island, South Carolina is a swamp, and we do land nav in this swamp, right? So the swamp got all of these uh, bodies of water. I don't know what you call it, but there's like swamp water. I don't know swamp water in the swamp. I guess that makes sense. There would be swamp water in the swamp, but and there's alligators and all this other stuff. So during Marine Corps boot camp, you do land navigation. You do a daytime and a nighttime land navigation, right? The nighttime land navigation is so crazy because sometimes you'll be walking in a direction you would swear up and down, I am going in the right direction. I did my offset, I counted my steps, I'm gonna get around this lake. To find out that you are going in a totally wrong direction, right? And then when somebody starts to this is Proverbs 14. And then when somebody starts to point out that you're going in the wrong direction, uh or not just going in the wrong direction, you're going in a dangerous direction. I saw people get stuck in the swamp. We had people show up at the end of the land navigation course with no boots on, no pants on because they lost their boots or their pants in the swamp. Like they had to take their pants off to get out of the swamp without getting swaddled, or they stepped into the mud and their boot wouldn't come out, and they had to, leave the boot in the mud, right? But the whole time that they're walking, they thought they were on the right path. It wasn't until they took that one step too many, right? One step too many. Like I'm on solid ground, solid ground. Then I'm in the mud. Oh, I'm deep in the mud too. You would think we always think that with life is like walking along and we're gonna feel the ground start to get squishy, and then I'm gonna be able to stop before I get into the danger zone. Sometimes the danger zone just happens, right? We're walking this path of life thinking that we're on the right path. This goes back to uh Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 for sure, where it tells us not to lean on our own understanding for sure. It goes back to that. But there was another one where it said, pretty much it said that we would think that we're on the right direction, going in the right direction, but really we aren't, right? Sometimes we think that we're living a life that is good for Christ, but when we really sit down and evaluate it, we're not, right? So that's what this is kind of saying. Like sometimes we think we are doing things right. We think we are doing something good, but really we're doing something bad. Like it's hard to wrap our minds around sometimes, but that does happen, right? And so yeah, I like that one though. Sometimes we're on this path and we think we're doing right. I had this whole idea earlier today. I was sitting out thinking about Proverbs 14, and I had this thought about how sometimes we aren't, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, on the way, right? Sometimes we have no motion, right? Some people get to a crossroad and they don't know what to do, don't know where to go. And here comes a person who appears to be going in a direction, whether it's the right direction or not. They made a decision and they're going in a direction. You know how many times people will get in, in line with someone going in a direction, not knowing where they're going, but they're just following the other person, right? We have, and you, as far as you know, you think you're going in the right direction, and then you finally get to a stopping point and realize that this person has no idea what they're going either. So it's the blind leading the blind, right? And I was like, are we? How often have I struggled from that? How often have I attached my direction onto someone else who, because they had a direction, I thought that they were going in a direction, and only to find out that they were lost the whole time. So here I am following somebody who never even had a destination in mind. You know, ooh, that's an even better one, right? It's worse to follow someone who doesn't even have a destination in mind. We're supposed to be on the path to righteousness. We're standing on the path to righteousness, trying to get directions, right? And instead of going to the Holy Spirit or going to wisdom, who is on the side, who is along the path of righteousness, looking to keep us in the right direction, we'll start following people because they appear to have direction to them. Like, so yeah. That was a whole side side thought that I had earlier today, and I meant to write it down because I was like, man, I can really like build a topic around that because I think that's what happens to especially a lot of youth. You attach on to that friend because that friend appears to have direction. Really, they don't. They're just sure about nothing. But a lot of times when we're like foolish and arrogant, that is exactly how it comes out. We appear to be going in the direction, but we just going in a direction. It's not the direction. It's not a right direction. It's just a direction. You know, I'm driving around in circles, but I'm driving. Sometimes we think that that's good. Sometimes you just waste gas, energy, and time and wear and tear on your vehicle, or, like you're not really going anywhere. It's that is folly. You think you're going somewhere, and you really went nowhere. You done drove 500 miles in a circle. Could have went to Chicago back. Verse 13. And I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I go off on tangents, so I pray that these insights as I have them are making sense because I'm literally like sharing my thoughts out loud. Like when I say this is a Bible study, like I am studying as I'm going over it with you guys. I do have notes, but like as I'm going over it again, like these are real thoughts coming out of my head. So uh, as opposed to made up thoughts, I guess they all made up. All right, verse 13 says, even in laughter a heart may ache. Boy, this is really hitting us on this mental health sector right here today. Even in laughter, the heart may ache. The end of joy may be grief. Bruh, that one. Verse 13. Even in laughter, the heart may ache. It goes back to what we just got finished talking about, putting on that mask. Sometimes I'm out here pretending to be good in the world, but really I need somebody to pray for me because I don't want to say that I need it. I don't even get the credit I need because I'm pretending to be happy, pretending to have joy. Even in laughing, even when I'm out and about enjoying myself, I'm dancing at the club, pretending like I'm happy, but really I'm lonely inside. That's the only reason why I'm at the club. You know what I'm saying? I'm out at the game, I'm cheering for the team, but really I don't even know how I'm gonna pay my bills this week. And I spent my last $100 on this ticket to the game a month ago, and if I had known it that I was gonna be in a situation, I would have kept my money. You know what I'm saying? Like even in laughter, the heart may ache. Even when we appear, and I think this is two different ways, right? It's important for us to know this about ourselves. Even when I am pretending to be happy, it's okay that I'm sad. that because the Bible tells me that this is possible, right? You're not broken. The Bible told us that this happens, right? We've made mental health off as like us being broken. The mental health issues that we have, really honestly, I know, I know this is a sore topic. Mental health issues that we have do not mean that we're broken. It actually means that we are perfectly functioning well, right? If we are people who are numb to things and they don't have an emotional or, some kind of physical effect on us, then that's a different problem. The person who can go through a traumatic experience and not have anything that it affected, we have to question some other things about yourself. But what this is saying is that it's okay for us to be to even though we are in situations where we have to put on that face and appear to be happy, it is okay to be sad. And this is also telling me that I can come to the Lord in laughter even though my heart is aching, right? I can come to the Lord with things that are going on with cheerfulness, even though I'm experiencing pain, right? Even in laughter, the heart may ache. But then it gives us that second little part. The end of joy may be grief. It may be grief. Not everything. The end of joy may be grief, right? Sometimes I'm enjoying something and cutting it off is hard. That brings grief, right? Cutting somebody off brings grief. Losing somebody brings grief. The end of a relationship brings grief. So sometimes the end of joy may be grief. That is such a true statement. Like words of the wise, right? Next time somebody come to you and they say, "Man, my relationship ended, but they was in a toxic relationship anyway." Hey, your joy may be grief. It's time to turn a new chapter, right? Like outward happiness is a mask. Sometimes we mask so many things, right? There are so many people who the that movie, The Joker, was a really good example of it. How you paint this smile on your face so that people think that, oh, that guy right there got it made, but realistically, I'm depressed, I'm down and out. I just had a talk with my doctor the other day, my VA doctor, and asked him to reconnect me with my mental health provider. I was seeing a mental health provider some time ago, and then I stopped. Like I always do that. Like I'll get to a space in life where I'm good, and I'm like, I don't need this anymore. I got it figured out, and then I go through some stuff, and I realize, oh, I need to go back and talk to somebody, right? But what was important to me the last time was that because I was working on getting closer to God, I wanted to make sure that I was seeking a mental health provider that also shared the same beliefs as me. So that was something that I seeked out when looking for a doctor because my thing was this, right? I don't want to go in here. I'm trying to have a conversation with you about things that are going on in my mind and what's going on in my spirit, but you're trying to downplay the spirit and medicate me. That's what a lot of them like to do, like, especially with veterans. For some reason, they like to chock us up full of medicine and put us in a corner, to pretend like we're crazy, right? And that we're unsalvageable, but that's not the case, right? So I told him, I was like, "Hey, I want a mental health provider that is a believer, that is a Christian. Like, I don't wanna go and" again, it goes back to, like, hanging out with the fool. I don't wanna go and seek life advice from a person who is not trying to live or living the life that I'm trying to live. That would be backwards for me. So here I am talking to this counselor about, uh, things that are going on with me and how they affecting me spiritually because everything is spiritual, right? Like, when I find myself feeling depressed and then I'm thinking about the Bible, and I'm like, "But I should not be depressed, though. I shouldn't be feeling this way, right? I'm a child of the Lord. Like, I shouldn't feel this way." But then I wanna have a person who can say, "Well, the Bible says we feel depressed. Paul was depressed." You know what I mean? Like multiple David was depressed, right? When David was running from Saul, he was depressed. So it's like, it's okay. But here's what the Bible tells us that we should do about that. Here's how we can how here have you prayed about it? Like, that's what I wanted. So, um, let me regress and go back to what we were talking about. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. and 2 says, I said in my heart, come now, I would test your pleasure, enjoy yourself, but behold, this also was vanity. So Ecclesiastes is my favorite book of the Bible, right? And yeah, I'm gonna have to say it's my favorite book of the Bible. Like there's other books that I'll like it's in my top five, right? I love the book of Ecclesiastes. One of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is because Solomon is just like straight in there, right? He'd be like, um, you want to go to the club? That's vanity and vexation. You want to work hard so that you can have a big house and multiple cars? That's vanity and vexation. Oh, you want to work hard so you can eat great meals and travel the world? That's vanity and vexation. And so when he's going through that and he's pointing that out, it's like we attach ourselves to so many different things in this world, so many things that people tell us we should do and we should enjoy and we should experience. But realistically, we can experience all of those things and still have sorrow and our hearts ache. You know what I mean? Like there's somebody right now on a all expenses paid trip, but their heart is ache. You know, so it's like, what good is it for me to experience these things if the inner me is still broken? I didn't really truly enjoy it. So we have to work on that inner me. We gotta allow God's presence to be in there so that we don't have to the more we acknowledge God's presence in our life, the less lonely we feel because we realize that we're never actually alone. The only time we feel alone is when we're detached from God. Like, and you know that's show or sheol or whatever however you pronounce it. Like to be detached from God. Like I don't want to be disconnected from God. I want to be in His presence so that I know that I'm never alone. You know, people like to say Jesus take the wheel. Well, if you ain't with Jesus, he can't take the wheel of you if you're not in His presence. You know, if He ain't in your presence. So we want to be the people that are always intentional about that, and that will help us with our mental health. Like, the more that we acknowledge the fact that God is here with us, the less I have to feel so alone when I find myself in those type of situations, right? Verse 14. Let me look at the comments real quick before I move on. Yes, Jesus is God, but I have to because I know that there's a different levels of people who are gonna watch this, I try to be careful with my words. That's why you'll see me pause and think for a second because I don't wanna say something that confuses, a new believer. So I do believe Jesus is God, I believe in the Trinity, but for somebody who does not understand it, I try not to confuse them. So that's why I'll say something like, "Give your life to Christ," "Make sure that you give it to God," and it's like I use it in the same way that Jesus did because Jesus talks about the Father. He doesn't say I, he say the Father. It's like he is him and the Father are the same, but he still points out the Father, you know. So uh how do I feel? So the pork thing, personally, I don't eat pork. I used to eat pork. I grew up eating pork. What I got with Vonnie did not eat pork, and it was because of religious beliefs. It was the church she went to, they didn't eat pork, but she didn't grow up eating pork anyway. Her mom doesn't eat pork. So I stopped eating pork then, but I do believe that I believe it's important to acknowledge the fact that God determined that the Israelites should not eat pork, right? A person eating pork, we find out that in Romans it says that anything that you offer up to the Lord is clean, right? It's considered a clean animal. So I don't disagree with that. I don't think that if you're consuming it, you pray it over, you ask God to bless it, it's gonna do what it's meant to do. But God knew that pork in itself was not a healthy option for the Israelites. That's what I believe. I believe that part of the reason why they were not to eat is because it was not healthy for them, right? It leads to high blood pressure, diabetes, all these other things. And that wasn't the only thing that they were restricted from eating. So I do still pay attention to that because of that, because I do believe that there was a reason why God told them not to eat it. But I don't, for me personally, I don't judge someone for eating pork. I love some bacon. But for anybody who don't eat bacon, man, beef bacon, oh, oof, beef bacon may be better than pork bacon. If you haven't had beef bacon, go get yourself some beef bacon. User KJ, I don't have a magic book, so it did not tell me not to eat pork. I don't have a magic book. But if you're referring to the Bible, yes, God did tell the Israelites not to eat pork, but then the Bible also tells us that anything that's offered up to the Lord is not unclean. And we live in a world where there's some people live in areas where they can't get anything other than that. So I don't think that God is holding that against people. But I think that is for each individual believer, each follower to take it to God on their own. And you know, I always say, do what God tells you to do. If God tell you don't eat no pork, don't eat no pork. You know what I mean? Um, God tell you don't eat no meat, don't eat no meat. I've been vegan before. I've been pescatarian before. And pork thing is just one of those like I don't miss pork chops. I don't miss pork ribs. The hardest part about not eating pork is that pork is in a whole lot of stuff, and I have to distinguish between that. But other than that, I really don't miss it personally. All right, let me get back to it. Verse 14 says, "The backslider in heart will be filled with the fruit of his ways, and a good man will be filled with the fruit of his deeds." Right, a backslider in heart. Now, a backslider, biblically, this is somebody who turns away. So, when we finally get ourselves aligned and facing God and headed in that direction, right, on the path of righteousness, the backslider is the person who departs from the right path. You end up going backwards, or you end up off on the side, right? But you're not on path. You're not going down the direction. It says will be filled, right? This is satisfied. So the backslider's heart would be satisfied with the fruit of his ways, with the consequences or the results of his ways, right? If I start to backslide, my heart is going to be filled with whatever the folly is that I decided to indulge myself in. It could be consequences, it could be negative results, it could be some positive results, right? It says, but a good man will be filled with the fruit of. Now, that's a good point. I should have done. I should let me look up. I should have researched the word ways and deeds in the context of this scripture because that would be very important. It says, I think that's good or bad. You know, ways or deeds. These are things that you did. Ways are just your ways. I don't know. Ways to me doesn't seem like when I say I will the fruit of my ways is just like my actions. Like I'm a things that I just naturally do. These are like the work of your hands. If I'm understanding this correctly. Uh, but I think it's important because it all starts in the heart, right? Like our spiritual decline always starts in the heart. When we aren't yielded to God, when we aren't getting in the Word, normally it starts in the heart. There's something that I start to desire that pulls me away from God, and then once I start to give in to that, I start to backslide. So we have to be careful of that. That's a heart posture, right? That's the desires of my heart is the one thing that will pull me away from God faster than anything else. Because once that desire in my heart, I start fixing on it with my eyes. And like I told y'all in some of the earlier ones, like our brain's only job is to figure out how to get you the thing that you're focusing on. So whatever it is that you obsess over, your brain has no other task but to figure out how to get you the thing that you're focusing on. So if the thing we're focusing on is God, our brain is gonna always seek out ways for us to get close to God. But if it's something other than God, our brain is gonna focus on getting us to that definition. And so, that's the reason why people become stalkers. You know what I mean? Like they fixate on it, and they brain finds them any way possible. And you be like, how could a person do that? Because their brain found them any way possible to get the thing that they was desiring over. It was an unhealthy desire, but your brain still gonna figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Even with the healthy desires, our brain is gonna figure it out. So when we find ourselves backsliding, the question we have to ask ourselves is, where's my heart posture? What am I focusing on? Because it always starts in the heart, right? Anger starts in the heart, all of it. It starts in the mind and in the heart, but they work hand. Verse 15. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives uh, verse 15. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. Man, simple believes everything. You ever meet somebody like that, right? We normally call these naive people, gullible, easily swayed, believe anything, right? Again, we live in a world where there are so many cricket and evil activities being done. And when the dust settle and the interviews come out, you find out that the person who did the thing was a simple person. They were naive. Somebody said something that sounded good, packaged it up, and they just ran with it. That's what we do when we have a simple mind, when we have a simple mindset. Uh, this is not saying simple like a person who is intellectually challenged, right? That's not the same, right? We and because I know that sometimes we use that to describe it, right? This is saying simple as in you're just gullible and naive. Like that's the person who doesn't have wisdom. We don't have wisdom and knowledge. We're gullible and we're naive. I can't even put what you're saying against anything because I don't have anything to measure it against. You come and tell me that the sky is blue and I've never seen the sky, or you come and tell me that the sky is red and I've never seen the sky. I'm just gonna be like red. You know what I'm saying? I'm gullible. I don't have anything to match it to. My toddler, my 3-year-old, he's gullible. He don't have anything to match it to. So he watch TV shows, and that's why I'm careful about what he watch on TV because he's so gullible that any little wrong thing that they show on TV or on some show that he's watching could lead him down a path that now I gotta go and try to correct. I gotta fight to correct it because once we're simple and we believe something, it's hard to get rid of that ideology out of our mind. You know, it's harder to unlearn something than it is to just avoid it in the first place. That's one of the reasons why we have to be careful where we take ourselves. If we can expose ourselves to something that grabs onto us, but it's like, man, if I had to just not experience that, if I had to just not went to that party, I would have never seen this thing. You know, like you can't unsee what you see, you can't unhear what you heard, right? We don't have a neuralizer like Men in Black. You can't drink some magic serum and forget the things that we saw and heard. Like it doesn't happen like that. So that's the danger of being naive is that when you're naive, you believe anything. And the reason why we are naive or simple is because we don't have enough knowledge to even compare what I'm being told to what I know. I don't know anything, so I don't have anything to compare it to. It says, but the proof gives thought to his steps, right? Again, to give thoughts to your steps means that you got something to match it off. Okay, you told me to go 3 blocks up, turn left, turn right, but I could just go 4 blocks up and turn left. That's given versus the simple who just like, oh, just follow directions. Like, well, I can give thoughts to my steps, and I can actually have a process behind it. I'm not just doing something because somebody told me. But I think that this is one of those things that we see today is that there's a lot of people out there who are being led astray because they're just simple and like they don't know any better. Especially with our youth, it's easy for one kid to come and tell another kid, "Hey, let's go do this thing. Let's go get revenge on this person." And simple, naive child will follow this person into the grips of sin and a life of crime sometimes. So we have to be diligent not to be simple and naive people who believe anything. Like a fool believes anything, right? Um, but then at the same time, a fool believes nothing. So it's crazy how that works. That a fool can believe anything, but at the same time, believe nothing at all. John, First John chapter 4, verse 1 says, "Test the spirit to see whether they are from God." Test the spirit to see whether they are from God. You'll encounter all kinds of stuff, right? Uh, you'll get 9 messages. People will come and speak blessings over you. You got to be able to test the spirits to see whether they are from God, right? Not everything that appears that tends to be from God is from God. You have to test the spirit. How do you test the spirit? Well, one of the ways is by the fruit, right? Um, but yeah, I thought that was good because if we test the spirit, if we test the knowledge, that's why I always say, like, if you want to know what's true, put it test it against the Bible. When you start having negative thoughts about yourself, test it against the Bible. The Bible tell me I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So when I start to have these thoughts that I'm not good enough and I can't do this and I will never achieve this, I have to put it against what's true. What's true is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So whenever I feel like I can't do all things, I have to ask myself, am I allowing Christ to strengthen? Because if I'm actually allowing Christ to strengthen me, there's no way I can fail, right? Put it against what's true though. That's what I'm saying. Like when you have negative thoughts, when somebody come to you with negative thoughts, don't argue with them on what they're feeling. Yes, what you're feeling is you feel exactly what you feel, but here's is it truth? Here's what the Bible says truth, right? And I think somebody actually said that earlier. Said, somebody said to put it up against the word, I think, and that was exactly that's exactly right, right? When anything we test it against the word. All right, let's keep on going because I am barely halfway there, y'all. So verse 16 says, "One who is wise and is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless." So same thing. We learned this in previous chapters where it told us that um, the fool runs towards wickedness, right? We learned in chapter 6, verse 16, where we go over the 6 things that God hates a person that runs towards evil, right? Finds it to be an abomination. But it says, a fool is reckless and careless, right? When we are wise, we're cautious and we can turn away from evil. This is the same thing with the idea of watching my mouth, right? When I'm wise, I realize I don't have to speak out on this thing. I ain't gotta get into this person who cut me in line. Out of my wisdom, I can be cautious and I can turn and go and walk the other way, right? I already see that they appear to not be having a good day, right? In my wisdom, I can look at that person, I can see the frown on their face, I can see the tone that they're using while they're talking on the phone after they cut in front of me, so let them go. They already have a bad day. I'm not my wisdom is telling me that I don't want to be the other reason why they have. You get what I'm saying? When we practice wisdom, we get to cautiously we watch our steps, like it said up here, right? Um, the prudent gives thought to his steps. That's the same as being cautious and turning from evil. If I have cautious, if I'm being cautious in my step, then I won't, I won't even walk into the evil. I won't even walk into the swamp, right? Like I told y'all earlier, like if I was being, if you navigate life and you don't know the terrain, when you're cautious of your step, you don't have to find yourself in quicksand. And I thought it was funny because the word cautious in Hebrew is yar, I think it was Yare, and it actually is translated closer to fear than it is to just what we see as caution, right? And so in Hebrew it says that fear is the sense of reverence and deep awareness. So it's not just a fear of being scared; it's like a fear of it's like I'm not afraid of fire, but I have enough fear of fire to not get so close that I can burn. You know what I mean? Like I have a deep awareness of the fire that I'm not gonna get so close that I catch my clothes on fire. And simple people will. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not talking about intellectually challenged. I'm talking about simple, naive people who don't pay attention to moral awareness. You know, and I accidentally burnt my shoe. I'm not stupid, but I put my foot too there too close and didn't even know my foot was burning until I started to say, "What's that smell?" Like, I've seen that happen. That's why I say that. And turning away from evil, like, uh, t we turn away from evil. When we turn away from evil, we turn towards righteousness, right? Remember I told you the other day, I'm either facing righteousness or I'm facing evil, but I can't face both, right? I'm facing one or the other. God is not in the same direction as evil. God is righteousness is this way. When I turn away from evil because I'm being cautious, I'm turning back in the direction towards God. Now you can say, "Oh, well, what if I didn't turn 180 degrees?" Well, you know what? I'm still closer to this direction than I was before, right? So it's still all things work for the good of the kingdom, right? Reckless and carelessness, I've been there, done that. I've had some reckless times in my life, and I am so blessed. I tell y'all this, um, I'm blessed to see the age that I'm at. Because if the Lord had taken me in my 20s, I probably would be, extra hot right now. Let's just say I'd be a crispy critter right now if God had decided to take me in my younger years, in my 20s, when I was out here wilding out and, participating heavily in the world. In fact, I wasn't just participating, I was part of the planning committee sometimes. You get what I'm saying? And I feel so blessed that the Lord allowed me the opportunity to get out of my reckless, careless behavior, right? Um, but I also have a heart, like, my heart sometimes aches because I know people who didn't. I personally know people who, you know, uh, military, right? I know people who died in battle, who died at war or died not at war, but, you know, died young and did not get a chance to turn to God, did not get a chance to seek after God, at least as far as I know, as far as the fruit that I am aware of that they were putting out. They didn't get the chance to have a relationship with God on the level that I now have to have a relationship with God. So I just feel so blessed for that because right, it could have been different. It could have been different. I was like, boy, if I had a died at 23, whew, it would have been pitchforks for me for sure. So, all right, verse 17 says, "A man of quick temper acts foolishly, and a man of evil devices is hated." That is a pretty good one. A man of quick temper acts foolishly. We know this, right? I told y'all people hopping out of cars at intersections because somebody cut them off and running up to cars, beating on windows like people ain't strapped these days. You get what I'm saying? Like that's foolish behavior. Like because your temper got so quick, we can't be quick tempered people that's on our temper to get us in trouble. Yeah. One of my biggest fears always was, if I, unintentionally hurting someone, you're trying to defend yourself or not. Defending yourself is one thing. But being a hothead, I've seen hotheads who are punch first, talk later, and it's like everybody, people, I knocked him out. Yeah, but you could have killed him. You know what I mean? Like when we act out of anger, we have quick tempers, we end up in situations that we didn't even, I didn't mean it. Yeah, but you didn't think about it because in your quick temper, in your anger, you rushed off to do a thing, and that thing came with a consequence that you now have to accept, right? So we don't want to be short fused. We don't want to be people who don't think about things. When we're quick tempered and foolish, we're not being the cautious, wise person from the previous person that walked away, right? When I'm angry and quick tempered, I'm not walking away from nothing, right? You're not walking away from nothing. Verse 18, the simple inherits folly, but the prudent are crowded. Crowned with knowledge. That is good. The simple inherit folly. That's true, right? The simple and naive, I inherit folly. Like nothing, you know, I waste my time. I hear people say there's a lot about, I think this is a big thing with parents and kids. I always use a lot of examples that are parenting because that's the phase of life that I'm in right now. And I get so mesmerized sometimes by revelations that come from my current parent that I get to compare to my mom's parenting. So things that my mom used to say to me that I am now saying to the kids. And I'll be like, why you not getting it? Then I have to step back and be like, you didn't get it. Like, you was the same way they was. Like, I'm fussing at my daughter about not saving money, but then I'm not saving money. I wasn't the person to save. So it says that, look, for we have to all make a conscious decision not to be the simple person, right? Um, Simple naturally inherits folly. You don't have to do anything to fall into folly. Folly is just living. It's just content. It's just being happy to be here. Just happy to be alive, but I'm not doing anything with it. Folly just comes. It finds you. You don't have to really find it. You inherit it. That's why you inherit it. It just finds you. It says, but the prudent is crowned with knowledge, right? I want to be crowned with knowledge. Uh, I want to have that understanding. Being crowned is a sign of royalty. You know what I mean? Like people don't crown you with anything uh, just because. Like you had to. It's a sign of royalty. I like the way that that sounds. Like I want to be crowned. Verse 19: the evil bows down before the good. The evil bow down before the good. Wicked at the gates of the righteous. Bow down. Evil bow down. Right. That's an act of submission. Right. The evil bows down. They submit. They show reverence to the good. At the gates. The gates. So I told you guys in I think it was Proverbs chapter 2, I think, where it talked about the gates of the city. So like in ancient times and ancient Israel, the gates is where the wise people where the wise men would gather or congregate. So imagine, you got all the wise gray-haired men, they're at the gates of the city, uh, sharing wisdom. And I thought about that more. The wise person that's standing at the gate, they're able to see with a different perspective than the young person that's sitting at the gate, right? I was like, why are the wise people at the gate? Well, the young person see the dust cloud coming, and they're just looking at it like, what is that dust cloud coming? Oh, there must be somebody coming up on a horse. The wise person can look at the same dust cloud and tell you there's 100 men 50 on horseback, and another 200 behind them on foot. And you say, "Well, how can you tell that?" "Oh, well, the size of the dust cloud and the plume and the this and the that," right? That's wisdom. The wise man is at the gate because they have a level of foresight and understanding that the young simple doesn't have, right? Um, so when it talks about being at the gates, like the wicked at the gates of the righteous, you know, they're not in the city with the righteous, they're at the gate of the righteous. Like they're being proofed, if you will. Michael, I sure can. If you don't mind sharing a little bit of detail about why you may not be feeling good if you want to. If not, that's okay too. But I don't have a problem with praying for anybody. But when you do, I do ask, if you ask me to pray for you, try to give me the details. I want to make sure that my prayers are in alignment with what you're praying for too, because we have to be on the same accord. So I don't want to be praying for something and what I'm praying for is not in alignment with what you're praying for, what you're seeking after God for. So, yeah, I love to pray for you here at the end. So, I will keep that in mind when I close us out. Verse 20, the poor is disliked by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Um, this ideal of poor, there's a lot to undig to dig up in this, right? The poor is disliked even by his neighbors. These are people who are close to you, right? So, when I think about this verse, the neighbor of the poor are probably also poor. So the poor is disliked by the other poor people that are also their neighbors. Like that's kind of crazy thing to think about, but that is very true, right? We know that in poor communities, under underprivileged communities, a lot of times crimes are perpetrated against each other, right? Like, um, so that is just a natural thing that is very true. I grew up in an area that was very poverty stricken. I'm from a small town in Mississippi, but we still had crime, even though everybody's almost related. Like we still had crime and people breaking into houses and people killing people. And it was like, but we're all in the same predicament, but there's somehow this level of hatred from someone who not only is my neighbor, but will maybe be my family member. It says, but the rich has many friends. You know, wealth attracts people. We know that, right? Wealthy people, everybody wants to be around the person who got something. Doesn't necessarily mean that, right? So this verse is very interesting because on one hand, it had me looking at it like, oh well, poor is hated, rich is loved. It did not say the rich is loved. It said the poor is liked. That's true sometimes, right? People won't like you um, because you don't dress well. They won't like you because you um, don't have the same taste in food that they have. Or you're not educated at the level that they're educated, right? So that is very true. We know that. But this is saying that even the rich person think that they got friends. They think that they got love. They just got a lot of people who want to hang around them because they got money, right? So in this case, it's almost better to be the poor person, right? Who's disliked by his neighbor. I'd rather be uh I'd rather know where I stand than have you pretending to like me, but really you only like what I can do for you. Has anybody ever felt that? Like that, you got a circle of people, but you realize that, some of that circle is just there as opportunity to kind of figure out what they can get out of you. It's an interesting place to be. Verse 21, whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed he who is generous to the poor, who is generous to the poor. Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner because we're told to love our neighbor, right? A lot of times when I see neighbor in the Bible, I think about holy neighbors. I think about, my neighbor in Christ are other people who are also in Christ. So, you know, I definitely should not be hating my neighbor who is also my brother and sister in Christ. That is definitely a sin because, that's going against the family, going against the body of Christ, right? It's like the hand hates the left, the right hand hates the left hand. You know what I mean? My hands hate my feet, my eyes hate my mouth. Like, we gotta work together. My mouth tells me what can verbalize what my eyes can see, but if my mouth hate my eyes, it wouldn't even talk. But blessed is he who is generous to the poor. I told you guys, you know, I used to be the person who did not like to give to the guys who would be on the street. Uh, I still have my times, right? I'm talking about people who are like on the street corner with signs saying, I'm hungry. And, I used to have a hard time giving to them because in my mind, I was always trying to figure out what they gonna do with it. What they gonna do with it? And it wasn't until I had the revelation that, and the Lord put it on my heart to give to somebody. it's no longer my money. At the point where the Lord puts it on my heart to give somebody anything, it is no longer mine. At that point, the Lord took possession of it. I am I am holding on to something until I deliver it to them. I'm a carrier at that point, right? It's not mine anymore. So that was the first revelation I had in that perspective, right? So then I started kind of like meditating on it. One of the things that I do now is I keep like stocks in my trunk, and if I, during the winter now that it's about to go into summertime, I'm probably gonna look into getting like some cheap ponchos. I can go to the dollar store, I can buy, 20, 30 cheap ponchos, keep them in the trunk of my car. Whenever I'm riding around, I see a homeless guy out or, something like that. I can get more ponchos. Stay dry because we got to go through the rainy season. Or they can even use it to build a shelter if they absolutely had it, right? So one of the things I realized is that generosity looks different for everybody. You know, the Lord knows what we struggle with. So when we are being generous with the poor, this could be money, this could be time, this could be resources. Like there are so many different things, but this this shadows the verse where it tells us to not withhold anything that is due. Right? I told you guys, once the Lord puts it on your heart to do or give something to somebody, it's due to them. Right? The Lord has already pre-signed the check. It's due to them. We just got to pay up. And we're not supposed to withhold anything that is due to someone, especially when it's in our means to be able to do it for them. So I've been working on my generosity when it comes down to that. Now I'll be honest with you, I still pull up to the red light and I look at somebody, I'm like, that joke can get a job. I still do, right? But when I feel that the Lord put on my heart, I, and I'm talking about like sometimes I done gave it 20 out, and I'm like, man, where that come from, right? That's what the Lord put on my heart at that time. No getting 20. I'm like, just 20? I got some fives right here. I got some warm right here, guy. Like he said he needed to get something to eat in McDonald's right there. And he would go to McDonald's with this $5 and get a couple of cheeseburgers and be good. I said give him the 20. Okay, look, you're right, give him the 20. What was I about to do? Go to Dutch Bros and get me a coffee. You know what I mean? Like, you right. I can be generous. But then there's also times where it's like, pray for. You want me to go pray for him right now? You can be generous by praying for somebody, right? That didn't cost you nothing. Be generous with your words, right? We talked about our words being a fountain of life. Can we be generous with our words? Can we speak life over people? You see, poor people and rich people, but like it costs us nothing to be a blessing and speak words over people that help to benefit them, right? So we want to make sure that we are that blessed is he who is generous to the poor. That's the other thing, right? This is already telling us that there's a reward for being generous to the poor. Blessed is he who is generous to the poor, right? It's not you're not even being generous for free. We already know we're gonna get something in return. That's the best type of generosity. It's like I can be generous and you gonna give me some blessings. God, okay, that's what's up. Like I can be generous more often when I know that I'm getting blessed. You know what I mean? Where are those blessings? They stored up in heaven. It'll be counted to you. God tally it up and he sees you how many $20 bills you done gave out. Verse 22. Do they not go astray who devise evil? Those who devise good meet steadfast love and faithfulness. Do they not go astray? Go astray. Do they not go down the wrong path? Right? Whether that's intentional or unintentional. Do they not go astray? Those who devise evil. If you are devising evil, you are intentionally going down. Right? To devise evil means you thought about it, you planned it, you schemed it. You're the jack boy. You sitting at the corner waiting for the car to come to a stop so you can carjack. You know what I'm saying? Like that's devising evil. The person who devises evil is intentionally going astray, right? Um, these are the people where I told you guys a couple of days ago. Like I feel bad anytime I read in the news that someone lost their life. I can't help but not feel bad because in my mind, that's another soul that, depending on their relationship with God, it's another soul that doesn't get to enjoy the fulfillment, the fullness of the Lord, right? So I feel bad about it, but I don't always feel bad about it. It's hard to like verbalize how I'm trying to say it. Like I feel bad when even the wicked person dies. When a person dies doing something evil, I still feel bad for their soul. I feel bad for their family. They have to now deal with this. They have to deal with the shame of whatever the person did. They have to deal with the fact that that person is no longer here. 'Cause, there's some evil people that are still loved by their family members. You know what I mean? I feel bad for 'em, but I can't feel bad for the evil person that died doing something evil because it's like, well, that's kind of what I envision that you get. The Bible says that when you do evil, evil bestows you. Like that's what you sow things from evil. You got some evil as the harvest. You pick those evil fruit. So that, but I can't feel bad when you choose to go astray. That's what I'm trying to say. I can feel bad for things that happen to people, but I can't feel bad necessarily for the person who intentionally chooses to devise evil, to ponder evil, to think about evil, to fantasize over evil, to desire to do wickedness to other people, right? For no reason sometimes, right? Most times people who are devising evil, they don't even have a reason for the evil that they're devising. It's just because it made them feel good or it made them feel powerful or whatever it is, right? It says, but those who devise good meet steadfast love. Steadfast, anytime you hear steadfast, this is the same as persistence or it's the same as long suffering, right? They use those kind of interchangeably. But steadfast means that you're gonna get that consistent, long lasting love, right? It's a long lasting love, an eternal love, and faithfulness, right? We get to live in the house of the Lord forever, like Psalms 23, right? So when we devise good, we meet steadfast love and faithfulness. This is true on the spiritual side, but I want you to understand this is also true on the human side, right? When you do good things, when you devise good on behalf of other people, you do meet that fast love. Like people love you and it is a real love. They generally like to be around you. That person does good things for people like to see you coming, right? And you get faithfulness. Like people will stand by you when you do good deeds. But the evil person, you may not do that. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna run into the burning building to go get Miss Johnson, because Miss Johnson is everybody in the neighborhood love Miss Johnson. I might try to scale up the side of the building for Miss Johnson, but Derek has been shooting everybody around here. You know, Imma yell and Imma scream for him, but I'm not really sure I'm running to the I'm not sure Imma run into the building for him. And I'm sorry, y'all. That literally just popped up in my head, and it sounds horrible when I say it out loud, but I'm just being real. You know what I'm saying? Like, um when you are a person that people love, people will do anything for you. And when you are a person that people just despise because you are an evil person, you've been in it. Evil people normally torment everybody that lives around them. I don't know, like any of you guys ever lived in the hood? I grew up in the hood. Evil people torment everybody around them, right? You see the evil person coming, you either gotta leave or you gotta wonder, is he gonna get mad at me? Is he gonna fight me? Is he gonna shoot at me? Is he gonna shoot at somebody who's standing near me? You know what I'm saying? Evil people cause havoc. They just people don't normally like to see them coming. So yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next one because I want to be sounding all extra dark on here. That's not the goal. So 23 says, in all toil there is profit. Everything you do, you make profit. But mere talk tends only to poverty. This is so good. Ooh, in all toil there is profit, right? Anything that you choose to do and you actually do it, toil is like diligent work, right? When you normally don't hear that word. Nobody uses the word toll, but you've heard it. I'm pretty sure for Halloween, whatever. And it's a toll. The bitches are brewing or whatever, and they're toiling over it, right? When you're toiling over something, you're being diligent. It can be painful labor though. It can be stressful, right? Yeah, toil. Yep. Um, that's the word. And it can be stressful. Imagine this, right? You're back in the day, you used to have to churn butter. So you had a churner, and it had a wooden stick. And you would go up and down, and you had to pull, right? You had to keep on churning and churning, and for hours you churning. It's painful work because your shoulders start to get tired, your arms start to get tired. You get that burning sensation in in your forearms and all that other stuff, right? It's painful work. It's diligent work, but if you want that butter, you keep on churning it and toiling, right? So that's what this is saying. So in all toil and anything that we work diligent on, that we're putting in actual effort on, there is profit. Like there's a payoff. It's not just talking about monetary gain. Like there's money there's money to be made most times in the things that we toil over. But there's knowledge to be gained, right? Anything that you do diligently, you're gonna, if nothing else, you're gonna gain knowledge and wisdom. You're gonna learn things to do, how to do it better, how not to do it. You're gonna learn uh we always talk about this in the aviation community. We have documents that tell you how to perform maintenance on aircraft, right? And we always used to say that it's written in blood because somebody something happens to somebody, that's how you get a new warning. Like a warning, they put a caution or a warning inside of a manual saying, "Caution, do not do this. It may fall on your head." You can almost bet that it fell on somebody's head, and then they decided, you know what, we need to write this in the book so that they know not to do this, right? Profit. That was a profit that came from somebody's tool. Somebody's pain profited in knowledge for future people to know that, hey, I need to cover my head or not get into this situation so I don't hurt my head, right? But so that's what this is saying. Like anything that we do, there's profit to be made. You may make money off of it, but if nothing else, your hard work is going to give you knowledge and wisdom and understanding on whatever task you're working on. But mere talk, if all we do is talk about the thing that we're going to do, all we do is talk about how I'm about, and again, we all probably done been this person, but we all at least know one person that always talking about what they thinking about doing. You say, yeah, I've been thinking about doing it. I'm thinking about starting a business. Don't think about starting a business. Start a business. Toil at it. You know what I mean? Don't just talk about it, be about it. We've heard that. Don't talk about it, be about it. I prefer to be around people who are beers and not talkers because talk is cheap. I love to sit here and talk for hours about. Me and Bunny have to be careful about this. Me and Bunny are some dreamers. Is a beautiful thing. We call ourselves a power couple because we'll get together and we'll just start dreaming and spitballing ideas, and before you know it, we done had this whole, like, we done drew out like this whole 30-year plan about a given situation, and then I have to pull us back and be like, okay, we gotta start with day one though. Because it's like, yeah, I can see us doing this, and we're gonna build this and build that and build this, and we'll build this house, and then we'll refinance that house and take that and go buy this building, and then we'll refinance that one and take it and go get this one. And we done had this whole thought in our head about what we're gonna do. I still got to go buy the first house before I can do any of it, right? I can't buy the hotel because I haven't bought the house. So I can sit here and talk about how I'm gonna build a hotel, or I can go and buy the house so that I can have start to work towards building a hotel. You get what I'm saying? Um, Ryan, yeah, I used to work on helicopters. I don't anymore. When I was in the military, that's what I did. I was a Huey and Cobra electrician. And Caleb, yes, pain is a reward. Think about it, right? When you go to the gym, you toil at lifting them weights. The reward that you get is the pain in your arm. When I come home and my arms are hurting, it sucks. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, boy, I got that burn in today. You know what I'm saying? I go for a good long run and I can't, and my legs are hurting and I can't go up the stairs. And I even caught myself the last time because, like, I'll do this like laugh kind of thing. Like I'm trying to go up the stairs and my legs feel like jello, and I'm kind of like chuckling. It's like it hurts, but it feels good. It's like for some reason it feels good to feel this pain because I know that I did something. So yeah, you can definitely pain can be a reward. But and that goes back to like what we were saying earlier. What was the verse? Let me go back up here, y'all. There was a verse that said, "Oh yeah, joy and grief." Right? That sometimes the end of joy is grief. Like sometimes a negative feeling is exactly what we needed to feel. You get what I'm saying? Like if I leave the gym and and I don't have a little bit of pain, a little bit of soreness, something wrong. I need to go back in there and do another set. You know what I mean? Like I was in here folly. I was being folly. I wasn't actually in here diligently trying to pump this iron. Sorry, I lost my place. Let me get back down here. I think I am. So yeah, that was verse 23, right? So yeah, mere talk tends to only profit you. Like the more we talk, the less we do, and the less we do, the less we have. So that is very straightforward. Straight- Very straightforward. But I wanted to James chapter 1 verse 22 says, "Be doers of the words and not just hearers, only deceiving yourself." Right? Be doers of the word. Like we have to put it into action because we can just hear the word and think about it and oh, it's gonna be next time somebody come to me, I'm gonna pray for them and we thinking about it and we don't even had it in our mind like oh I don't I don't know if I'm the only one who had these vivid daydreams where you went to the gas station and a random person got out of the car and the Lord told you to go pray for him, and then you went over there and you prayed for him and you said these words and you thought about what you were gonna say and what they were gonna say and you went through this whole process, but you never actually went and prayed for 'em. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is like. We can't just be people who hear it deceiving ourselves, thinking that I'm doing something good. Oh boy, I was about to go pray for this person today. I know I'm on the right path. I was about to say this and that and this and this and this. You know what I'm saying? Like be a doer, not a stayer, not a talker. Talk about it, but be about it. It's okay to talk about it if we're gonna be about it. But it's funny how so many of these verses pretty much tell us to watch our mouth, right? Watch what you're saying. Um, don't just be blabbering off at the mouth. Um, Verse 24, the crown of the wise is their wealth, but the folly of fools bring folly. Mm. So the crown of the wise is their wealth, right? It just told us earlier that the wise will be crowned with knowledge, right? So the wealth is the crown. The knowledge is the wealth. You know what I'm saying? As that goes back to what we was talking about the other day about how knowledge is wealth. We think that wealth is just money. Like how many dollars do I have? How many pesos do I have in my bank account? No, wealth is knowledge. The crown is the knowledge, and it's saying that for the wise, that's their wealth. When I got knowledge and understanding about a given topic, I can create wealth out of that all day, right? If I know how to fix cars because I have an understanding and a knowledge of how cars work, I can then take that information, go out and fix cars for people and make wealth for myself, right? The crown that not the thing that and so how is the crown that I'm using is I'm gonna go and tell you like, hey, I'm a master mechanic with 30, 20 years of experience. I fixed all these. That's my crown. That's what you see coming. It's like, oh, that guy know what he's talking about, right? But the folly of fools bring folly. When you don't learn nothing, you have nothing to use. When you don't earn nothing, you have nothing to pay with. When you don't build anything, you have nothing to use. The folly of the fool brings folly. When you participate in folly when you're young, you're gonna have folly when you're old. You get what I'm saying? Like the young person who's not worried about working a job and having a little bit of a savings account, they're gonna experience folly when they become the old person that don't have anything to live off of or don't have anything to pay for unexpected bills, right? And again, we all go through this. It's not saying that anybody who has those situations uh was a person who partake in folly, but what it's saying is that if we are foolish people, we're gonna get foolish results. You can't we live in a world where everybody wants to put nothing in and receive the same thing that everybody else got, and that's not how the world works. And we clearly see that that's not even how God works, right? You can't put nothing in and get something out. Like the person who's not following God don't get the blessings of God that I get to get when I've been yielded to God. Because here's the thing, right? The foolish person can look at it and say, "Well, it's not fair that they got this and I didn't get it." Well, it's not fair that you do get what I get when I work diligently on becoming righteous so that I can receive this reward, right? I work diligently on being obedient to the Lord so that I can dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You did not care about that, and you said, "Oh, I'll worry about that when I get old," so you don't get to enjoy the That's how life works, right? Like even amongst our kids, it's like that. Like, yeah, you don't get to enjoy the same treat that your brother got if your brother did his chores and you didn't. You know what I mean? But we have to be careful too. Like I think that as a society, we have made this thing where people feel like uh they can be foolish and they can receive the same thing that